I was a DJ in high school, so I always had a love for the media. And I always knew that I would find a career down that path. I just didn't know where. But when I got the internship, I loved the fact that I got to be on the radio, but be myself. And at the time, like, I was wild and silly and all that stuff. I still kind of am, but nobody ever really tried to change that in the sense. And I saw that if I could just be me, that's where my success was going to be in that industry.
This was a real fun one this week, guys. We had on Santi DeOleo, local radio personality, media consultant, and fashion guru. We talked about a whole bunch of great topics: mental health, handling adversity, and life in general, handling a family, all sorts of things. This is a great episode. Check it out. I'm sure you'll enjoy it. All right, guys, here we are on another episode of The Mic Drop, powered by Premier Mortgage Lending. We've got our friend Santi DeOleo here with us, local radio personality, media consultant, and overall awesome dude. So welcome, Santi.
Well, thank you for having me. It means a lot to be here. I've watched you guys on online, and it's been pretty amazing to see you guys where you guys are at now and completely understanding what to do in here. So this is amazing. So thank you for having me.
Thank you for saying that we understand what we're doing, because we've just kind of been learning it as we go.
You definitely do. But you know what it is too? In a radio, a lot of people will try to fake the funk and be somebody that they aren't.
Yeah.
You guys are being yourselves, and it's working. And I think that's the key to everything. Again, people try to go on the radio, try to post on Instagram and be cool.
Right.
That's the opposite. Just be yourself, and that's the key to everything.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I kind of don't try to be anything other than what I am anyway. You know what I mean? Over the years, I've learned that you got to be genuine, you got to be you. And if someone doesn't vibe with that, or you feel like they don't have the right connection, then that's okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can't connect with everybody in the world.
Well, you know what's crazy about that? That was the biggest thing for me. Being in radio, it's well, let's talk about the media, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people nowadays are so tough behind an iPhone, right? They're commenting on everything, and they're portraying their life to be perfect, but in reality, they're just broken like all of us are, right? So I've gone on air and just opened up my life and been so humble and open, but tried to relate with the person who's going through everything. Like, I talk about seeing a therapist. I talk about being bankrupt at one point in my life. I talk about all these elements, and even almost getting divorced and all these parts of to me, that is real, that's honest. That's the cooler part, where a lot of people will post those pictures of themselves that are so flattering, or tell these stories online that just aren't them. And it's come on, that's all the BS that we don't want to see. Open your life up and be real. So,
well, what's true about that is everybody goes through shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whether it's, you have problems at home, everybody does. Mm-hmm. Everybody does, every single person. Every marriage, even a great, happy marriage, me and Nicole are super happy. Yeah. We fight, we have shit go on. We've had bad days, bad months, bad weeks. That's reality. Yeah. It's people paint this picture. You go on Instagram and you're like, wow, that person's life is fucking perfect. It's not.
It's not.
It's not.
It's definitely not. And I think when it comes to the marriage thing too, I feel like the best description I've ever heard about marriage is you're going to want to get divorced from the person. You just hope that it's not at the same time. Right. And I'm my wife has told me there have been 2 different times where she's not wanted to be with me. I'm I understand it. And there's been other times on the other end of things. Thankfully, it hasn't been at the same time. And that's what's made the marriage work. Now, fast forward 16 years, and I think our marriage is better than ever because we both have a humble understanding to the other end of things and just to the other side.
Yeah.
But marriage is tough, man, especially you start adding in kids and then own a business. It's that's a challenge. That's a marriage that's tough to keep happy.
It is. And I think what we've found is, you just said the word understanding. Mm-hmm. Understanding and tolerance of one another is, I think, is key. I am a pain in the ass sometimes. I am. I'm a lot, you know what I mean, when it comes to work and this and that. And she is now tolerant and understanding of me. She's got other things that sometimes I don't think are totally awesome, but I'm tolerant, understanding of it. And you don't let it bother you. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because you can almost let it roll off your back. And that's the way you need to be in, all right, we're talking about marriage, but that's a relationship with anyone.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I work with a girl who's opposite than I am. She's my boss, but we have an understanding to each other's sides, and it's almost like a marriage because we spend more time with each other than we do at home. But even that dynamic, at work, you got to understand the other side of things. You got to understand your boss. You got to understand where their perspective is. Now, and this also comes from a person who, my boss now has fired me in the past.
Right.
So coming back into that, okay, I had to go back and understand why I got fired, what maybe I wasn't doing in the past that now I could be better on, and even that relationship has evolved too. So marriage, partnership, when it comes to work, it's really about understanding the other side of things.
Yeah, totally. That's an interesting dynamic.
Yeah.
You know first, you fired me before, but now I'm back. You gonna fire me again?
First, I like to say that when he fired me, it wasn't completely my fault, but I probably did things that put me in that category.
Sure.
Leading up to that. But again, coming back from that, it's almost like we had to meet a couple times. We had to hear each other out. And it took a couple years for me to get back in. And a lot of that like came because of understanding. But yeah, like even today it's still tough. Like we're not ever going to be best friends,
right?
But we understand perspectives. And I respect him like just a lot more because bringing me back into this situation, tough on his end, it was a huge sell. But also too, like gave me another shot.
Right. Back at it.
I respect it.
Yeah, totally. Let's talk about you a little bit.
Oh, yeah, sure.
All right. So I want to talk about you, find out, because I'm sure there's lots of young people out there that, especially where it seems like everybody's into different types of media now.
Yeah.
Whether it's social media, people, photography, it seems like everybody's really getting into that space, right? So I'm sure a lot of people want to be on the radio or have podcasts, things like that, right? Podcasting is, huge now.
Yeah.
But still, the radio is always the radio. People listen to the radio and they're going to forever. Talk about how you got into that space. I know you were born in Dominican, right?
Yep.
Moved here when you were 2, 3?
Moved here when I was very young, yeah.
Very small. Grew up in Salem, Mass?
Grew up in Salem, yes.
Okay.
And then graduated from Salem High School, and I went to Endicott, which was in Beverly.
Yep.
And that school is amazing because they make you do an internship.
Yep. So
my first internship, the first place I applied to was 94.5. And my internship start date was June 5th of 2000. And ever since then, I never looked back. That was my first job. Worked there for 15 years, and eventually got fired from there. But now I'm back. But that journey was very I was a DJ in high school, so I always had a love for the media, and I always knew that I would find a career down that path. I just didn't know where. But when I got the internship, I loved the fact that I got to be on the radio, but be myself. And at the time, I was wild and silly and all that stuff. I still kind of am, but nobody ever really tried to change that in the sense. And I saw that if I could just be me, that's where my success was going to be in that industry. So now I've been in the industry now for 20 years, kind of following that path. And obviously, I've stumbled with certain things, and but I always use that as my beacon. So that's really how I got into radio, how I got into 94.5, and just kind of have been there now for 20 years.
Yeah. So I mean, key there is just be you.
Oh yeah.
1,000%.
You know what's insane about that? Before work, every day, I talk to myself.
Yeah, me too.
In the car. That's the thing I end on. Be yourself, be yourself, be yourself. And that's not BS. I tell myself that every single day because I've realized that's the key to why I'm here. Listen, I'm back on a morning show for the second time. When I always go back to the being fired part, but listen, I got fired and now I'm back. And it doesn't happen in this industry a lot.
Right.
But I got to believe that it's something within myself. And I just remind myself to be you every single time. And that way I'm not thinking oh, what would this person say? And I think in our industry, people try to be like another person. Or I like how Joe Rogan does this. Let me try and be like him. No, he's being himself.
Yeah, he's him.
Focus on you. And that's just a secret there.
Yeah. I mean, let me ask you a couple questions I want to ask you, right? Because a couple of things you said I thought were interesting. So you talk to yourself, right? Do you do affirmations?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. Yeah. Talk about that a little bit. Because I do as well, but I never even said it because I just kind of do it.
So I never realized I was anxious at all.
Yeah.
And then coming back to 94.5, I realized that I was second guessing a lot of things because of the past traumas I had over being fired.
Sure.
So I started seeing a therapist. I used to get really anxious at work when somebody would make a comment about my performance. And it would mess my world up. I'd think about it all day. Started to see a therapist, and we started talking about where all this stuff kind of came from and where what I was thinking when I was performing and all that stuff. But started to meditate. Mm-hmm. And I really started to get into the internal thoughts because it was my own head that was I was hurting my own feelings consistently over stuff that people would never, I'd have a 4-hour show and there'd be one comment that I made that I thought was off and that would fester in my head for hours. So every morning I try to remind myself that I'm here for a reason, stay calm, stay relaxed, and most important, just be yourself. And I always say listen, nobody else can be you. Just be yourself on the air, and that's just a success. And honestly, if nobody wants you here, fine. But as long as you're true to yourself, then you're fine.
Yeah.
But those affirmations are every single day. And I meditate every day. And again, I was always a person in the past that would wasn't about the therapy. I'm like, I'm not gonna go talk to somebody about like all this type of stuff. And then I was also the person, I'm like, meditation, what is that?
Right.
It's all BS. But those two things have changed my mindset on so many aspects of life that like I can't go back. It's a part of my daily like thing, like every day.
I think it's super important. I don't do enough meditating.
Yeah.
I've wanted to get into it, so I see a therapist as well. It's a therapist. She's a therapist kind of / business coach.
Yeah.
She kind of does it all, you know. And we've been talking a lot recently about mindfulness, and we're going to start working on meditation. So I think it's huge. Anybody that kind of blows off therapy, because I've done that. I did that forever too. You need somebody else to talk to, and a professional can help you figure out how you actually feel. Did the therapist help you figure out the thing you said there about how you're, I forget the words used, but like your own worst critic type of thing?
Yeah.
You beat yourself up? Dude, so many people do that. It's like you shit on yourself all the time.
My God.
And nobody else is even thinking for a second that you did anything wrong.
And then looking back, it stopped me from so many things in life. I put out content like all the time, and in the past, I would hold back so much because I didn't think it was perfect. Then I started like through therapy, like perfection is impossible, and perfection was what was causing my anxiety. Like I went through like a week where I didn't sleep at night. I was a mess because of one thing I said on the air and a coaching tip that my boss gave me back. Mm-hmm. Like it got to the point where I met with my boss before the holidays, and we had a 2-week vacation. He told me, yes, and when we get back, we'll talk about a few things, little coaching tips. I stewed on that through vacation. It ruined a vacation for me. That's when I knew that I needed help.
Yeah.
I forget what your initial question was.
I don't remember either, but just keep talking.
No.
I don't even remember where I was going. I think I was just talking about how, you know, that when we're our own worst critics, we beat ourselves up. I mean, it's the worst.
That was the cause of that whole thing. And now through therapy, I've realized that like, I can give myself coaching tips and I can nitpick little things, but you're never going to be perfect. So stop trying to chase the impossible. And she helped me see so many aspects like that spun off little things like that. It changed my direction, changed my performance, changed my life. It changed my marriage, changed everything.
Everything, right?
Yeah.
And the thing with perfection is you yourself, whoever it is, you're the only one that's going to see the one little thing that you didn't think was perfect.
Yeah.
Nobody else is even going to know.
Yeah.
Yet we beat the shit out of ourselves about this stuff over and over and over again.
Yeah.
It's like nobody else even knows. You're fine.
And here's the crazy thing too. So I have a speech impediment, and I would get upset with myself. And I'm like, wait, but that's you. And also, nobody has really, you're still here. So I started to turn that into like a funny part on the show where it comes up from time to time. We have a good laugh about it, but it's like, you know what? You're now taking a part of who you are and trying to make it like invisible. I'm like, don't do that. Just make it fun. Like you're here for a reason.
And that's what everything about you is what you got you to this point.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So embrace it, be it, you know, love it. You know, that's what you should do. You know, it's like I tell myself, especially on days if I'm like if I'm feeling like tired or having like a down day or whatever in the morning, I'll look at myself in the mirror and I'll tell myself I'm awesome, that I kick ass. I'll say, you're Mike Comerford. You do this every day. Look where you've gotten so far. Keep going. You know, and I walk away from that, and it's almost as if somebody else is telling me. When I do that, and I can build up my own confidence, you know, and I think that's something that other people should do. We actually started doing that with our kids.
Oh,
you know, we gave them like just a few basic affirmations to say every single day, you know, and I think they haven't been doing it, but we got to push them to do it.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, the thing with that is I feel like some of the stuff takes a lot of time. For me, the meditation in the beginning was like, you know, start to meditate. I started thinking about everything.
Yeah.
You know, and then I started thinking like, you know what, it's okay, but just come back to it. But over time, like I love it now. Now it's like such a peaceful time in the morning where I just can clear my mind. And sometimes if I'm having one of those anxious days in the afternoon, I do it a second time.
Yeah. Can you tell me about like what type of meditation you do and how you do it?
I honestly meditate off an app.
What, like Headspace or one of those type of things?
Yes.
Something like that?
It's called Calm.
Oh, yeah. I think I have it.
Yeah.
I've used it like twice.
10 minutes like every day. But it's, and I just listen and I just think through everything. I go back to the breathing and like all that stuff. And it's just a way to turn my mind off because my mind can get me into some bad spots.
Yeah. It also gets you into good spots, though.
It definitely does, yeah. And I always feel like when I meditate, the world seems very clear. And I'm able to like let go of certain things. Like somebody will say something or that one comment on Instagram, I'm like, I don't give a shit anymore, fine. Because I always have to like, and It took therapy for me to realize that not everybody's gonna love what you say or the jokes you say and all that stuff. And sometimes I'm opinionated on a lot of things, but I also can't be both. I can't be opinionated on stuff and then get upset when somebody doesn't like what I have to
be
say.
sensitive to it at the same time. You just have to be it.
Yes.
That's going to be tough for you, right? And, talking about perspective, right?
Yes.
Think about everybody's perspective. On social media, you've got a ton of people that follow you, right?
Yeah.
So everything you do, there's going to be a lot of people that have something to say about it.
Yes, and these days everybody has an opinion. It's like everybody's at home picturing their lives as perfect, and they're just shooting out all the vileness. So I've been able to deal with all that stuff a lot better and not kind of get stuck on that one comment or that one phone call. I used to say, because we used to have this segment where prisoners would write in.
Yeah.
I used to say I don't want my daughters dating somebody who is behind bars. Right. I mean, that's just, I feel like that would be the normal thing.
I think that's a normal thing.
I started to get a lot of hate for that. And at first I'm like, wait, am I saying the wrong thing? But I'm like, no, it's a normal thought.
They're prisoners.
Yes. And if they don't like it, fine. Or if anybody else has an opinion about that they don't like, fine. I'm fine with it. It's just but I'm okay with what that aspect of things. So.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I don't really see how anyone could argue with that.
You'd be surprised.
I mean, I wouldn't, because people can argue anything. It's kind of crazy.
But just to be clear, do I believe that people can definitely change? Yes.
Absolutely.
And I have friends that have been behind bars.
Me
that's
too.
Fine. Now, if they turn their lives around, they date my daughters, that's okay. But I guess from the outside in, that's not my first choice.
Yeah, I think that is a generality.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I think that's kind of a blanket statement that's okay to say.
Mike, you would think, but you'd be surprised.
Because in most cases, I know some people are wrongly convicted and in jail that shouldn't be.
Yeah.
But most people in jail are some type of criminal. And it makes sense. You wouldn't want your daughter being a criminal. Right?
So now I'm fine with having my opinions on things and standing by them. If somebody hates on it, that's completely fine.
Yeah, be you again. Be you.
The
right?
be you thing, yeah.
Yeah, so whatever, So meditating every day, affirmations. What else do you do to kind of help you grow and help Santi fucking feel great and get up every single morning, go on the radio and do what you do? You are on your whole life.
So fitness is a big part of my life. It hasn't been through COVID, but I used to run marathons before then, and I just signed up for my first one again.
Awesome.
I'm running in a month, and getting back to that has definitely helped me mentally because see a therapist, but I also do some of my best therapy when I'm on these runs.
Yeah.
But I think it's consistent with the meditation when it comes to just the breathing. That's really good too.
Right.
So that helps me kind of balance out my life a bit, but then also just put it away. Personally, I love to work. I love to read stuff. I like to view content, but also there has to be time to have that balance, whether it's a vacation, whether it's spending with the kids or putting the phone down there. It does need that balance. And part of that allows me to go out and live, but also have these stories for the radio. Yeah.
Well, you said something there, and fitness, huge, right? Mm-hmm. So let me get back to putting the phone down. Remind me on that, right? Because I think that's important. Fitness. So running is, I do not like to run, right? My wife's a big runner, right? Mm-hmm. So, but she talks almost every day. She'll come back from a run and be like, hey, I had this great thought, this great idea. And she always gets some level of clarity out running.
Yeah.
Do you feel the same way?
Feel the same way to the point where I stopped running with headphones on.
Yeah.
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 Because it gives my mind I absorb so much. I think about so much. I think through everything. And some of my best ideas come from that. Yeah. And there is a runner's high. And again, I was always that person from before, there's no runner's high. That's stupid. Yeah. But there is that. And also when coming to running initially is not enjoyable. It sucks.
Right.
At first. First time I did a marathon, between the first day I started with just the training to when I finished, I hated it.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is stupid.
Yeah.
Now after a couple in, I'm like, you know what, this is fun, this is cool, the experience is great, but it also goes back to the perspective. Now I'm not worried about time, I'm not worried about anything. I'm just worried about enjoying the run, enjoying the people, just having fun. It's gonna suck a bit, but I'm not putting that just the pressure just on myself. So just go out.
Yeah, I think that's huge though, right? With anything, you can't put that undue pressure on yourself. I do it continuously. Yeah. Continuously. I'm always looking at the next big thing I could do or the next project or this or that because I always feel like I haven't done enough. You know what I mean? I think we have to learn to not do that.
Yeah.
And it's not a matter of not being satisfied with who you are because I am. I'm happy. We've done well. Everything's great. Company's going well, so on and so forth. This podcast, everything is. but I'm always trying to get to the next thing and measuring myself unnecessarily.
Yeah.
Like even what you said there about not counting the time. You're not concerned about the time. Good. Just go out and run a marathon. 26 miles is good enough.
Yeah.
You know
it's
what
funny.
I mean?
In therapy, it's the same thing where I was trying to find the next thing.
Yeah.
And it's okay to find the next thing to work hard, but there does need to be time to sit back and look at what you've accomplished. And I never used to do that ever. Now I try to sit back and like, wow, you're 20 years in the game. You're back at a morning show that's pretty big in the city.
That's
like,
awesome.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
You know, and I think same for yourself. Like I drive down the highway, I'm like, shit, there are the billboards. Like I think that's really cool.
It is pretty cool.
So
this may sound crazy, but I'm going to tell you about what my therapist said to me yesterday when I was in there because I said, what I need to work on not always looking at the next thing, or I'm constantly talking about work or ideas or things we can do with the company. And I said to her, I go, I even want to stop doing that. Mm-hmm. Like I said, I don't want to do that, right? And so what she did was she drew 2 lines on a piece of paper and said, okay, everything you're doing now that you know is in here in these 2 lines, right? Whether it's work, family, business, everything that you know is here, right? Maybe you're looking for something even more than that, but you don't even know what those other things are. So you're bouncing back and forth inside those lines, just going over and over with the stuff that you already know. Mm-hmm. I was like, what the fuck are you talking about, Deb? I had no idea. I was like totally confused. And she goes, no, so maybe it's some type of spirituality that's outside of those lines that you don't know about. Maybe once you learn about that through meditation, through reading, maybe that will open up your thoughts so you can send your mind in that direction, right? So she gave me some homework. She's like, why don't you do some, look up a few different types of spirituality that you may be interested in and bring it back to me and we can talk about it, right? So what I thought was super interesting about that, she also gave me an analogy that I thought was like spot on. She said, it sounds like right now you're like a bee in a glass jar, right? Mm-hmm. And you're just banging off the sides, right? Because all you know is what you know.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe step outside of that.
Yeah.
Get out of the jar, and then it can open up your mind. You won't be thinking about the same things over and over again. So I know it sounds a little hokey to some people out there that might not fully.
But there's a comfort zone within the lines. There's a comfort zone there. But exactly it. I get too comfortable sometimes, and I'm afraid of the other side.
Yeah.
Where like before, I was completely panicked about being fired or having like something else. Now, for the first time in my life, I'm okay with the other side. My biggest thing is making the leap, but the other side is okay for me.
In meaning the other side, whatever it is?
Whatever it is.
Yeah.
Whether it's
like
a project or working with somebody or like a different station. It could be anything, but that other side for me is okay and almost to the point now where I'm like curious.
I like that, Santi. I like that. You know what I mean? So it's like rather than being so overly obsessed and concerned with what we're in right now, who knows? The other side could be better.
That's exactly, and I always hear that the other side for a lot of people, it's like euphoric. It's amazing. It's like, but the fear stops us from going to the other side. Like, listen, I don't want to do anything that puts me in a bad position, but if something were to happen and there's another side of whatever it is, I'll figure it out and I know I'll be okay.
Right. What would you do last time you got fired, right?
Well, that's the whole thing. I like it worked out well. I put my mindset in a place where it wouldn't have been before. I started working with companies that were pretty amazing.
Yeah.
That would have never happened if I didn't get fired.
Right.
So going back to that, the other side is okay.
Yeah. And people, anybody listening, think about that. Don't be afraid of what could happen if the things you're doing right now, doesn't stay the way it is. Things can change, but it can get better.
Absolutely, yeah.
We said something else, putting the phone down, right?
Putting the phone down, yeah.
I know, you're a media consultant. You work with people on social media, that type of, the different platforms. Yep. At some point, we need to put the phone down. Yeah. Right? I mean, I have actively been working on that for quite a while because I was at the point where I would see it and I would open up the phone, I could enter in the password, flip it open, get to my email, have things open before I even thought for a second or looked at it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then it would go to Instagram, Facebook, and it's like, I am like fucking hypnotized by this thing.
For me, it hit me when I was at dinner and my family started making comments. I'm like, wow, we're out to dinner and I was defensive at first, but then I thought of it from their perspective. I'm like, wow, it kind of sucks for them. Yeah. Like we're out on the weekend and like dad's on his phone again. Yeah. And so I've been making an effort to leave the phone in the car when we go out to dinner. Yeah. Because like I don't have, unless I'm going to post like a video fine, but I don't need to post it at that moment.
No.
So I leave it in the car, and it definitely has helped me be in the moment.
Yeah.
Which, again, sounds stupid, and I've always been that person, like, be in the moment. That's BS. But, like, being in the moment is actually pretty fun.
It's the funnest, right? And that's why what people are doing with the phones is trying to document everything, right? So you're trying to document everything, but you're not even actually living it.
You're not, no.
So I was at a conference last weekend out in Vegas, right, a big mortgage broker conference, and Magic Johnson was speaking at the conference, right? So it was interesting, right? Everyone's listening to him, and he's going through the audience, like talking to people like one-on-one, be like, oh, what's your name, right? And this one young guy, Magic went up to him, he had like this real sharp suit on, right? So Magic's like, hey, look at you with your suit on, and he stands up. And as Magic Johnson is talking to the guy, this distance, he's just like this the whole time. Right? So I'm like, why doesn't he? I looked at Nicole. I'm like, why doesn't he put that down and just enjoy that he's having this great conversation with Magic Johnson? I'm sure somebody else in the room of 3,000 people with cameras and everything else all over the place is recording this.
Yeah.
You know, I think so many people get caught up in recording everything that they don't actually even enjoy what they're doing.
Well, that's the thing. I feel like a lot of people are living their lives on Instagram or through Facebook, that they're missing these times to like engage with Magic. Like, you're probably not going to get that opportunity again.
No.
Like, engage with the man. And who knows, what if he says, you know what, this guy's cool. You know what, let's do some business.
Right.
He missed a moment because he has a phone in his face.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, so people got to take a second to put it down. Like you said, yeah, you're a social media guy. So am I. So are a lot of the people here in my office. But there's a time to do it.
Yeah.
You know?
Some of the best stories and experiences I have not had my phone there.
Right.
Some of the, like, Vegas or whatever it is, insanity that I have my phone there, but you know what? Let's just live this moment. Those stories are made for better than posting the picture about the whole thing.
Well, think about it. We're close to the same age. I think a couple years older than you. Until I was 23, 22, I didn't even have a cell. There was no cell phones, right? We did okay. We enjoyed ourselves. We had fun.
We had a blast.
It was actually a little bit freer to have fun because you didn't have to worry about someone recording you.
It definitely was.
You know what I mean? I think about now, I'm like, man.
Oh my God, if I had a phone back then,
I wouldn't be here.
Same. I'm right behind you there too. Yeah.
You know? Yeah. I'd be somewhere else.
Exactly. But seriously, put the phone down and just enjoy your life.
Yeah, totally.
Because the other thing too, and I don't think we think about it like enough, but like, we're going to die, right?
Yeah.
Do we want to look back and like, oh, I have my phone there? No, like, you're going to die, so live this life. Like, honestly. And I was guilty of having my phone in bed with me like all the time. First thing in the morning, read like all that stuff. Try to balance that out now. Like,
I still need to work on that.
I
have my phone on the nightstand. I get up at 4:30, 4:45. I'm like,
yeah, like the morning's fine for me. It's at night where I put it away because I don't want to be in bed like with the light on. And then like, for me and my wife, we're busy, so I don't want to lose the connection there. Yeah, just hanging out, talking, just catching up on the day.
And most of the time, you're not even looking. Like, my wife and I will do that. Sometimes we're sitting on the couch, or even if we're in bed and we're on our phones.
Yeah.
Like, we're looking at the stupidest shit. It's nothing significant. You know what I mean? Like, why don't we talk to each other? Maybe put something on the TV that we can talk about that we're watching. You know?
Yeah.
That's huge. So with your consulting that you do, tell us about that for anyone that might be interested in.
So I guess my consulting started when I got fired. I found the digital world and I was making content. I started partnering with some big companies and we started just making content. And I started to see that there was a need for a lot of small businesses out there that didn't know what to do or how to get their platforms started. Mm-hmm. So I started to find those, work with some local ones, and now people are reaching out to me to do one-on-one coaching. It could be anything. Like, again, it sounds cliche in the sense of like, I do it all because not one company is the same as the other.
Right.
So now, like, I'm finding that people just they're looking for a sustainable platform of content. And they need consistent content up there and stuff that's kind of creative, but stuff that's geared towards today. And obviously, each company is different, but how is it going to work for the world of today? Like, TikTok's a big thing.
Yep.
A lot of companies are like, wait, what is TikTok? How can we make stuff for that? Well, you don't want to go in there and copy all these teenagers on there doing the dances. Do what's true to you, but stay within the parameters of what's working on the platform. So that's what I've been doing as of late.
Yeah, I like that. We need to look into TikTok a little bit more.
TikTok is huge.
I know.
But here's the thing with it too. It's like, it's big now, but for companies, you got to be prepared to pivot when it does change, because it's going to change. Like, Instagram's going to be gone. TikTok is now starting to get this weird thing where I've seen it the last couple of days where it's still huge, and I don't think it's reached its peak yet, but there's an element of... There have been stuff that's been posted that's not getting a lot of love, and that's starting to tell me that like the the opinions of it are starting to change a bit.
Things that previously would have
kind of flown, but also more people are on the platform, so they're featuring a lot more things and things are going viral.
Makes sense.
So like the perspective of it is starting to change just a little bit. Where you go back like 2 months, it was still all so positive and so shiny and so fun.
Right. Now, all right. So from a professional standpoint on this, where do you think if a business is going to try to push themselves on social media, which say percentage-wise, should it be 30% Instagram, 30% Facebook, 30% TikTok, or where do you?
How about I paint
Does it depend on the business?
I think it depends on the business, but how about I paint it to you like this?
Yeah.
Now, this is going back to traditional TV from back in the day. So if you're a business, you want to look at YouTube, Instagram, and
YouTube.
TikTok as the ABC, the NBC, and the CBS.
Yep.
And looking at those ones as being like the big one where you want to focus most of your content on that and like focus on video, focus on all aspects of video, and then put time into storytelling. Like you can be a business that makes concrete, but I'm sure there's a story there that's going to connect to the people who buy concrete.
Right.
So storytelling is huge, and I think focus on those platforms, but also always remember that you're creating content for the phone. Don't think of it of like somebody being home. Like think about it for this person. It's going to sound bad, being in their car, being on the toilet,
right,
watching the videos, and that's the end goal of it. Like think of it from that perspective. So focus on those ones, but always think of it from the phone perspective. Like not the computer, but the phone.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, and I think too many people don't. That's why you see these videos. Like the place I'm on my phone the most is on the toilet.
Oh yeah.
Honestly, like if I'm
it extends the whole bathroom thing.
Oh, sometimes I'll be in there for like a half an hour, and Nicole's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I don't know. I'll be right out." I'm like, "I'm doing nothing." But like you're looking at something, and there'll be a video playing, and it's going for like 5 minutes, and I'm like, I'll see it's 5 minutes long. I'm like 40 seconds in. I'm like, out.
Yeah.
So people need to think about that. If you're looking on your phone, everything you're doing is kind of quick.
Yes.
So
another thing that I talk about is hooking them from the beginning.
Yep.
Like you want to get a great hook from the beginning, but also whatever you hook them with, pay it off with. So if it's 5 minutes, that hook better be the most amazing thing, and you better pay off that thing by the end of it.
Right.
But pay it off and satisfy them. Don't just leave it like blah. Like there have been videos I haven't posted because the payoff on the end was kind of like, eh.
You mean earn the hook, kind of? Is that what you're saying?
Not just earn the hook. It was, okay, say I'm going like away for like the weekend and I'm vlogging. If the ending of the video sucks, I'm not going to bore somebody with 4 minutes of video with no great end.
Right.
So tell the story and look at the video as an arc. You know what I mean? Like a good movie is going to have 3 different acts. And the payoff at the end has to be good for you to leave like, wow, that was really good.
That makes sense. Otherwise, someone finishes and you're like, I just wasted my time watching
that. Was blah.
Right.
And they won't come back.
Right.
And that's the biggest thing. You want them to come back a second time. And on the radio, like our biggest competitor is not another radio station. Our biggest competitor is the phone.
Right.
And that's what we're dealing with like right now. That's why we're pushing the app a lot, because we want people not just to listen on the radio, but when they're out of their car, you can listen on the app.
Yep.
So at the end of the day, great story, pay off, hook from the beginning, and make sure it's compatible with somebody's phone.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah.
That is huge. How do you think we're doing? Do you look at any of our stuff?
Oh, I look at stuff like all the time. I'm constantly with you guys, engaged, and you guys have a consistent flow, and that's another thing. Consistency is so important in this game because people will forget about you within 2 seconds. But you guys are very consistent. Off the air, we were just talking about this. I think you guys are working towards something that not many people can do. You guys are creating a content network, which is priceless, and I think you guys could potentially have people creating content for you guys for years to come. And Mike, I don't know what your plan is with this, but I'm sure I can see you selling this content thing for $100 million in 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the goal. We want to keep going with it. I mean, I don't know about $100 million. I never even thought of it that way, but keep it going.
Yeah.
Like Ed and I, Ed's behind the camera over here, we were talking one day, and I'm like, dude, if we do this right, the podcast could take over.
Oh, yeah.
Like the podcast and a social media presence and all that. Like we just got to keep getting people on that are interesting, of enjoying honest conversation.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's one thing that I've said before. Like I just want to have real conversations with people. I'm myself. I swear. I say what I want. That's me.
Yeah.
Take it or leave it.
But it works for you.
And we're doing really well with it.
Yeah.
It seems like, it's funny because it seems like the more people we have on, the more people are open to being on, which is cool. Because in the beginning it was, I'd have like a real estate agent that I knew or somebody else that I knew, and it wasn't really getting a whole lot of traction. And then I was like, all right, let's reach out to people that more people know,
You know what's crazy? UFC, right? Let's use that as an example. At its foundation, they're a fight group, right? They put on fights. But I think when companies like that started to see themselves as a media company, they definitely took the leap. I feel like you guys sell mortgages, right?
Yeah.
But I think you guys are seeing yourselves as a media company as well. And I feel like it's starting to it's coming off like that in a very effective way.
Good.
Yeah, and I mean that. Like I work in the media.
Yeah.
I see a lot of companies just posting one video, then you go 2 months and it's like another one that's kind of shitty. Like you guys are putting on consistent quality stuff. And take this studio. The studio is amazing.
Thank you.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Like we have one at work and honestly it's not this good.
Oh, get out of here.
And I'm not bullshitting you.
Wow, that's awesome.
So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and it's funny because we've kind of learned as we've gone, but we've got a great team. You know, like I said before, Ed's over here, Alex and Anna. And Anna's actually really the one that focuses the most on social media.
Yeah.
She's got it down. She knows it inside and out. And, she's young, 22, 23. Sorry, 22. 23. But she's really got her finger on the pulse and knows what people want and how it all works. And she gives me great tips and advice. And it's great to have a team of people that really know what they're doing and the experts.
Well, I'm glad you're saying team because, I always go back to the media thing. There are a lot of people that I work with that I've worked with in the past who do not believe in a team aspect. It was always about them. And having somebody like you, just acknowledge the team, that's so priceless. It goes such a long way. I'm sure they can attest to it.
Yeah, I mean, anybody that is ever successful has a team of people with them. I think it was Henry Ford or someone said, I may not be the smartest guy in the room, but I make sure I'm surrounded by the smartest guys in the room. And it's true. Because you can have, I come up with a lot of ideas, but these guys and the team here and, outside of the studio in the office, they're the ones that really help me implement them.
Yeah.
One person can't do it all.
Yeah.
And if you think you can, you're full of shit and you won't.
Yeah, you definitely are. Yeah.
So yeah, what's your favorite thing that you're doing now? So you do all the social media stuff. You're on the radio.
Yeah.
You're doing a lot.
Radio's great.
Hey, real quick, I'm interrupting you. You like wine, huh? I noticed
I
that on
love
social
wine.
media. So do I. We should have. I'm actually having Joe Comforti, the wine director from Tuscan, over here pretty soon. We're gonna do a wine tasting. I'll have you over.
Count me in.
Yeah.
I love wine.
Yeah.
I fucking love wine. So in regards to the favorite thing that I'm doing, radio is great.
Yeah.
But I look at radio and content as two different things. The content I'm doing now, I'm getting ready to launch a show next week, chronicling my training for the marathon. That's partnered with New Balance, sponsored by them, and we're gonna do a month of training. We're doing some interviews with some elite runners, some down-to-earth people, some runners who just run for fun, and just kind of capture the story behind it. So that's what I'm doing next.
That's cool.
Yeah. And then after this, I'm launching a content series called Double Tapped and Posted with a little an element of that's interviews as well.
Oh, that's awesome.
So creating literally content that's just me.
You're just
Not
living,
just me,
no,
but
but
in
you're
the sense
living
of
your life.
living my life. But what I mean by just it's me behind the camera, but it's also creatively anything I want to do.
Yeah.
Because working in an industry like radio, it's amazing, but for so many years, there were so many rules. I think we're discovering that the digital world, there are no rules, and somebody who has a podcast about Bigfoot can be successful.
Absolutely.
Where you go back 10 years, wait, you're going to have a radio show about Bigfoot? That's not going to work. Now it's I love the thing. I want to hear what
there's millions of other people that like Bigfoot.
Yeah. So it's that type of work that I love to do.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So I just want to ask some questions about that too, because that sounds interesting. So are you recording your actual runs, or is it more interviewing yourself after the runs?
It's a combination of all that. It's vlogging a bunch of the runs, doing some training runs with some people, and then interviewing runners from around the world.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Did you see that we had Noelle Lambert on a couple weeks ago?
I did not.
She was the Paralympian.
Oh, I actually did, yes.
Yeah, talking about running.
Yep.
She was super interesting, super inspiring too. You should check that out.
I definitely will.
Great story, great girl. And again, this girl, quickly, because I was talking to her I think I've talked to her about her 10 times a day since we had the conversation. Talk about resilient and the right mental attitude about everything. That didn't even, I'm sure it did, but it didn't stop her from doing anything. It didn't phase her. She lost her leg when she was a freshman in college at UMass Lowell, D1 lacrosse athlete, and lost her leg. And right after, she was like, all right, well, how can I get back on the field? Boom, just like that, And talk about the other side, right? There we go. There's an example of the other side.
It's hard to complain about anything when somebody like that goes out and shows their toughness and shows you can still enjoy life. You can still do accomplish all this stuff with what she dealt with.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, Santi, this was a killer conversation. I really enjoyed it. I can't wait to talk to you about more things off the air and work together moving forward. Anything else the people that are watching us should know about you?
No, listen, hey, reach out to me on Instagram at Santi DeOleo and just connect with me on any platform.
Yeah, cool.
I'm an open book, so.
I like that. I like that too. All right, man. Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Definitely.
Talk soon.